Okay, so I'm playing 2 tables of Heads Up No Limit 25 on Bovada here. I've won a little bit off the guy, actually won a little bit off both of them, but I'm up a bit more off the guy on the right on table 2, who I think is like kind of stationy. And the guy on the left seems pretty straightforward, taggish so far. Not a whole lot has really happened, so we'll just kind of see what dynamics develop. I'm gonna call this down because it's small. Yeah, okay. We chop. Thought he might be thin value betting a king, so here this guy, I think he donks into me on the left, or was it a 3-bet pot? No, I think he just donked into me and then barrels this turn card. I don't know what he was donking really. I'm gonna call one more just because the ace could be kind of a reverse scare card. But I'm gonna fold if he makes a convincing river bet here. Like, I just can't really imagine what. I mean, he just donks. He hasn't done a whole lot really yet. I have no reason to think he's out of line. I'm just gonna fold. I think you can also make an argument for folding the turn. You certainly don't, I think, fold the flop at all, but you can make an argument for folding the turn, knowing nothing about the player. Maybe I should have done that. I don't know. Check back bottom pair over here. Sometimes I'm betting that. It just depends on dynamic and whether I think I'm going to take it down a lot. And I don't really expect to take it down a lot on either table right now. So I'm going to be c-betting pretty low percentages and not really dicking around much for the moment, unless something changes. Here I'm just going to barrel off pot with 2 pair, and I expect to get called light, or somewhat light, by like just any 9x. Okay. Because the king can be a reverse scare card there. So I check the flop and then bet, turn, and river. I guess I still represent all my nut hands too, so he just gave me credit. The guy on the left may be kind of on the nitty side, maybe. We're not really sure yet. So I've been kind of working on my game as to my defaults. So what I should play before I have reads on people, because I feel like I tend to like try too hard to exploit people that I don't really have reads on yet. Here I'm check raising open-ended +2 overs. Don't get there on the turn. I'm gonna have to barrel though with this much equity. Hope he doesn't have 8-7. Hope he doesn't ship on me. Unfortunately, he ships. We're getting 2-1. We need to win this a third of the time to be able to call. We're only going to hit the straight like a fifth of the time, and we don't really have any idea if our queen or jack is good, so I think it's a fold. Unfortunate that he barreled off on us there. We would have rivered a pair, but we don't really know if that's good. Flop top set on the left, that's good. Just go ahead and c-bet pot since I'm losing and I don't expect a ton of folds from him. Turn is fine. Like, that shouldn't affect too much. Like, if he flopped the straight, he still already has it unless he has 10-7. Just gonna barrel big here on the turn and hope that I represent a bluff, or that he'll call me. It'll have 2 pair or something worse that he'll want to put the money in with. Hopefully not, 7-5 or 10-7. I think when he takes this long, he's likely to fold. Yeah. This guy is kind of stationy and hasn't 3-bet a ton. I'm just gonna fold queen 7 suited. Although that can be a call against like aggro 3-betters when you have good, like if you feel like you have good post flop fold equity, it can be a call. But I don't really feel that way against this guy right now. So. I've been really working on trying to narrow my ranges when I'm not expecting to get a lot of fold equity post-flop, and lowering my c-bet percentages heads up as well when I'm getting low fold equity. That's kind of what I'm attempting to focus on for a lot of these dynamics, especially at this level where a lot of people are fairly likely to not fold enough, in which case if you're like 3-betting and c-betting too much against those kinds of players, you're just dumping money and it's never going to work out well for you. Here I'm going to 3-bet 8-7 suited. just because I haven't 3-bet in a while and I'd like to establish a little bit of dynamic. And yeah, he does default to some 3-bets. Okay, so he's not terribly unreasonable in 3-bets. Turn flatting 3-bet with 7-6 suited and flopping the nuts. Easy game, right? Easy game. I'm not going to raise this if CPC bets because it just looks too strong. Plus, I'm going to tank a little bit and then call. Turn a flush draw over here after checking back flop. Okay, turn is a brick. Does nothing. Hopefully he just jams turn with an overpair and we take it down. He's drawing dead. We get min raised with the check min raised here with the flush draw. Don't river anything. I'm just going to peel again on the turn. Hope that he doesn't have a boat. Obviously I have to fold the river over here. Reship the river and hope for a check call. I don't think he'll check call here. It doesn't look like a spot where he really should. Like, I represent a fair number of hands, at least some hands, and so if he doesn't have, like, at least top pair or something, it's going to be really hard for him to check call here. Like, I don't represent a ton of busted draws, really, except, like, thin value. Yeah, I thought he would fold. Still have to shove, though. Here I check back top pair, no kicker, as I like to do a lot, and because I feel it balances out my check back range really well. And I bet the turn he check min raises again. I'm going to call, hope for a diamond. And then we hit the nuts on the river. That's excellent. Here I'm check calling one street with ace high on a super dry pair board. And I am check raising all in with the nuts. Folding to a turn barrel over here. I just don't think he's bluffing enough for me to think about making a silly hero call. We don't get paid off with the flush, unfortunately, but at least we won the pot, so can't complain. Although I'm slightly down to the guy on the left now. I feel like he's fairly balanced from what I can tell so far. Like, I haven't seen him do anything particularly out of line either way, in any direction. So, here he checks back flop, min raises turn. I guess I saw planning to fold river. Probably. Just can't imagine what he's bluffing with. I mean, I almost want to call this just to see what he has. I mean, since I chopped with another 2, I'm going to make a thin call here, expecting to lose a decent portion of the time. He had to, okay, yeah, he did that with a flop boat. Yeah, my instinct was to fold. I just called kind of for information there because it was small, and I wanted to see if he was really playing that line with a monster. So now that I know, if he's playing these goofy, like, check back, min raise lines, you know, min raising the turn after checking flop, stuff like that, then he's probably real strong. At least now we have a read that he's doing that with strong hands. If not, you know, it's also possible he may be doing it with other hands, but I think, you know, now we know he's doing it with some strong hands, so that's worth noting. Here I'm 3-bet bluffing queen 3 suited because I have momentum and I haven't 3-bet in a while. Yeah, okay. I guess I have to call this down. He just has air so often he has a 5. That makes sense. It's just, I feel like after checking 2 streets there, he could have air really often as well, so it's close between a call and a fold, but if a call is okay. It's not terrible in any event. Might be a little bit bad. Here I'm just flatting king 5 suited. I can occasionally 3-bet this hand if I've got like super momentum and I think they're folding a ton, either pre-flop or post-flop. But I'm just gonna check fold bottom pair here. It's a monotone board and I don't have any good outs really. I have very few outs anyway. And they may be dead if he flop flush, which once in a while he will have, so. On the left, I flop top pair. I'm going to check raise this because my image is starting to sort of suck over here since I'm losing. And, well, he doesn't bet, so we obviously just lead turn now. I'm just going to lead pot because the pot's very small, and he's going to check back flop raise turn again. He just did that with a monster a minute ago. I gotta pay this off. I can't fold top pair here. He has 10s and 3s. Yeah, okay. So he was consistent. He did it with the monster both times. I'm gonna reload over here on the left. Three flats against my kings. just gonna go ahead and c-bet pot, try to build the pot up. It's kind of a standard against players that you don't expect to be folding extra often. This I just fold. I feel like he has some pair better than that enough of the time when he's leading that turn that it's not worth calling with bottom pair. Like, he's going to continue to river probably pretty often, and I don't really feel like calling 2 barrels. I don't think he's leading that many bluffs there in the first place on the turn. On that board, anyway. Here he leads out into our 2 pair. That's good. I'm just going to call and then raise good turn cards, because there's a lot of really bad turn cards here as well that I don't want to see. I don't know what his donking range is, really. It actually might be really great hands, but I feel like I'm pretty compelled to value raise the turn anyway, because of so many draws he can have. This is really largely for protection. He folds, that's fine. Like, I don't mind that result. Kind of bad river coming up, so. Here I have c-bet pot with a second pocket pair and a gutter on the right. Flatting ace-8 off on the left. Flop nothing. I'm going to get check raised. That's interesting. I'm going to call that. But I'm definitely finding folds on bad turn cards. However, that's an excellent turn card because I now have the straight. I'm going to check back for deception very quickly. And then hope that he bets the river so I can shove, and he doesn't believe I have a 6 ever because he thinks, yes, he thinks I have to have bet the flop with that, or bet the turn with that. Well, he's going to fold anyway. But I think I did a good job of representing a bluff there because, like, how do I not bet a 6 on the turn? You know, and then I'm shoving over his river bet. It just looks super strong. Here you can certainly raise there with trips, but I had no kicker, and I feel like he could be, like, inducing. So I'm just going to call, and hope that he's just bluffing here. I mean, I have to raise the river. Run into like pocket 10s or something here, right? Ace 10. He might talk himself into a call with an 8. I think that's probably what he's thinking about. Because he thinks maybe why didn't I raise sooner if I had an ace? So he might actually not give me credit for an ace. It'd be pretty cool if he hero called with like an 8 here. He's time banking. He might do it. Ah, he lays it down. That's a shame. At least he won pot though, so again, can't complain. I'm not raising hands this bad against a limp. I'm raising probably 20% of hands or something against a limp. I'm not going to barrel turn with bottom pair. Over here, I'm just going to go ahead and bet big with my middle pair. Just for protection, mostly. I'm playing a more polarized style, kind of on both tables right now, so I'm going to be protection betting some spots where maybe I could then value bet small and get paid more or something, but this is just a fold, I think. Like, if he folded me with nothing or a draw, then, you know, good for him, that's fine. I'm just not going to pay off any bets really with bottom pair there after he called the flop. Here I check back with middle pair, and he did check the turn, which he could well have a 10 here. Honestly, it looked like a 10 or a busted draw, or a better 6. That's unfortunate. Here he leads out. I'm just going to call and probably raise good turns. Actually, well, that turn... Yeah, I do have to raise pot here. If he has like a king, he can't go anywhere, I don't think. Nah, he just folds, that's fine. It may have been a little bit better to call and raise river there, but I wanted to be able to potentially threaten stacks, and I thought that if he had a king, he wouldn't really fold anyway. So I thought that was the best way to get stacks in at that point, was to raise and get maximum value from a king, rather than just call and then he bets really small on the river again and I raise and he folds. deuce, deuce, deuce. I'm just checking this back. I don't rep anything. Leads the ace turn. I'll just let him have that. That's nothing. Here I get 3-bet. This guy doesn't 3-bet much at all. I just fold king 4 suited. That can be a call against aggro 3-betters, and it is something I call 3-bet with pretty often against somebody that I think will give up too much post flop. But against someone that is just not 3-betting very much in the first place, I think it's a fold. A little, I guess you could. It's sort of an exploitative fold, sort of a standard fold, hard to say. It's unfortunate. I'm really actually blocking bet half pot on the turn here. So I can still get called by his draws and worse hands. And now I can check and potentially get busted draws to bluff into me. Yeah, busted gutter turned into a bluff on the river. That's exactly what I wanted, so it was good. That was nice. I like leading the turn there. I feel like it'll keep him in with draws that he can then turn into bluffs on the river when they miss. Here he leads half pot into me. I'm gonna raise. I haven't raised his lead yet, and he just snap calls it. I don't pick up anything on the turn. Here I'm flatting 3-bet with queen jack, but I'm a little worried about reverse implied odds. Check back river, a deuce over here. I'm probably not good here. Yeah, he has a 6. Okay, that's fair. 3-betting jack 6 off. Oh no, I'm sorry, he's just leading with it. That's kind of a bad flat, but here I'm going to bet half pot after flatting 3-bet because I think that his 3-bet and check flop range is likely to be pretty weak a lot of the time. I can't barrel into him if he check calls, I don't think. He probably has a king, and I don't know if he's going to call down all 3, so I'm just going to give up here. Like, oh, okay, well, never mind. I flopped, I rivered the nuts, but had I not rivered the nuts, I would just be, like, giving up here and probably just folding to a river bet and expecting him to have an ace or king really often. I have to shove here if he has, you know, also has a jack, which he probably does, or he wouldn't have led river like that. Although if he's thinking about it, then, you know, okay, he was just either thin value betting or straight bluffing there. This guy also 3-bets very little, so I'm just exploitive folding ace 4 off and whatever. Flat queen 10 off out of position, and it's sort of a bad flop. Actually, that flop probably I can represent this flop okay with a check raise maybe, but I feel like he's just angry right now and probably a little tilted, and like I think he's inclined to float my check raise. The guy on the right is definitely looser and less straightforward than the guy on the left, so I think that the guy on the right is going to be dicking around more, and yeah. Anyway, here I just see that pot with the gutter. Here I flop middle pair in a 3-bet pot, and I peel 1 barrel, potentially peel more, depending on what he does. This guy leads out on a 3 flush turn. I just fold. That's not very good for me. I'm going to call 1 more barrel and possibly call all 3 here. River comes backdoor diamonds. He checks it. I think I'm good here a lot. Yep, AK high. I'm really not sure whether I call river if he fires all 3 barrels there, but yeah, I don't know. That's a super tough spot. I feel like I had an inclination to call there. I mean, it might just be hindsight, but I was really considering the call. I wasn't auto-folding river. I think I call some rivers and fold some rivers. So I think I just got raised here. I'm going to check call again with open-ended. Well, sort of get there with like a really marginal flush. And he checks back and we're good, so that's fortunate. Yeah, I've kind of taken to the A.E. Jones theory of opening every button until someone 3-bets enough to stop you. And these guys, neither of these guys 3-bets very much. They're very different players, but neither of them is particularly aggro 3-better. So I can pretty much open every button against them. I just have to see that a lot fewer flops in general. But that's okay. Like, that's not such a bad thing against station-y type players. Like, the guy on the right is kind of station-y. Guy on the left seems pretty balanced, like I said. Like, nothing really crazy has happened against him, I don't think. So I'm just playing pretty straightforward, a little bit, maybe a little bit laggy against him. But I don't see him doing anything too wonky so far. Here I'm going to try a half pot c-bet, maybe like potentially induce a bluff from this kind of crazy-ish player. And he just folds now. Over here, I'm going to c-bet half pot. This is not a generally good c-bet bluff board, but just haven't c-bet much recently, and I felt like he would exploitative fold a decent bit, especially if I half pot, because that can sort of help to represent some kind of desire for him to stay in the pot. That's kind of one of the good things about smaller bluffs like the half pot c-bet and stuff like that, is that it can sort of suggest to your opponent that you want them to stay in, and then they'll kind of unconsciously fold out of reverse psychology because they think you're trying to lure them in. That doesn't always apply against a lot of people. A lot of the time they'll just go, oh, a discount, cool, I call. But against some players, some of the time, the smaller bet gets a whole lot more credit than it should because they think you're drawing them into the pot or inducing or something. Especially if they've seen you do that kind of line with a really strong hand. They're going to start to fear that you could be doing it all the time with all your strong hands. And then your small bets will start getting absurd respect, and it's just kind of funny when this happens. But anyway, so we fought nothing over here. He leads half pot. I've only raised his lead once, and I've lost the pot. I think he got me to fold, so I think my image for raising his lead is bad, especially on a dry board, and I just fold. If I had a king, I would raise there for value, but it's a spot where I feel like I need to show up with value. Here I'm not leading out with nothing because he can hit lots of things on this board with his limping range, and I just have no equity, so I'm not going to bother. Still not getting through that enough to make me back off my button ranges, so I'm still opening every button on both tables right now. Like I said, I just c-bet less than most people that open tight, so. Here he leads into me again. Now I will raise for value. Because I hope that he remembers the last time that I raised his half-pot lead, I was bluffing. No, this time he just gives up. Maybe he figured that I would figure I needed a value hand there. I don't know. Maybe he's on that level. Maybe not. Maybe he just had nothing and folded because he didn't have anything. Hard to say. Three bet eights over here and just get a fold, which is totally fine. I'm going to wrap up the video in about 10 minutes to go play heads up with Kurt. So, here I get 3-bet. I just think he's starting to 3-bet a little too much now because he's losing. I just don't necessarily believe him. He bombs the flop though. I'm not going to float this. I think it's too likely he's barreling for me to really want to float with ace high and no real draw there. I would certainly float it on some more dry boards that don't look like they hit him very much, but you know, I don't really want to float there. He bombs the flop. I'm going to check call top pair here and let him barrel. The turn is not particularly good for me. I don't like the third spade obviously, but I'm going to check call once more. I don't like the 3 straight either. Checks back. Hopefully we're good. We are good. Cool. So he just chewed and done there. And I think I was folding to third barrel there actually, so I think I made the right. I think check call, check fold is actually the best line there. So here I 3-bet ace 3 suited and flop top pair no kicker, which I like to check call as a standard. Whatever, especially against a really tiny bet like that. So I think he's decided I don't have an ace, and he's going to bet really small, and then big to try to bluff me or something like that. So I'm going to check call, check call, check call. Unless I river a 3 or the case ace, then I'm obviously check shoving. But yeah, I mean, I just don't buy that he has much of anything here. Unless he overshoves, and then I guess I can fold. But okay, he just checks back river, so we're going to take this down. That's good. Here I am 3-betting ace deuce suited, just to kind of mix it up a little and get my 3-bets a little more aggro. That's not a bad hand to have in your 3-bet bluffing range, I don't think. Over here I'm just folding to 3-bet because I have garbage. I keep raising buttons aggressively, folding to 3-bets a good bit there. I'm going to 3-bet 4s here. I like to 3-bet small pairs all the time to build up the pot for when I do flop a set. I'm just flatting 7-5 suited, flopping nothing. I'm going to pot the turn here and try to hope that I hit something, or represent that I hit something and that he didn't. I feel like that particular line, check 3-bet, check flop, and then bomb turn when he checks back, just takes it down a really high percentage of the time, like way higher than half potting the turn, because it looks like you were trying to trap on the flop, and now you just want to make up for lost time and get more money in the pot by potting it on the turn. Especially because when people flat 3-bet and check back flop, they're so often weak. Like, that's like a classically weak range, I think, that not very many people balance very well. So it's just a spot where you can lead turn for pot really aggressively and take it down a lot because it represents a failed flop trap. I think that works against like almost everyone I play against here. I can't really think of anyone off the top of my head that like recognizes that and plays back at it at these small stakes heads up tables. So here I have 3-bet 10-7 suited and c-bet half pot with top pair, and I'm gonna check call the turn on a king turn because I think there's a lot of draws he can have here. Now I'm gonna check call all in on the river with chips, and he bluffed with complete air, so that's awesome. And he quits us. That's good. Here I just check call one street with ace high unless I turn a heart or ace or 6. I turn an ace. That's cool. I'm not going to donk out. I think donking out is okay, but checking is better because it lets him keep barreling with his draws. Just check call to let him bluff. I think it's really unlikely he has diamonds here. Yeah, I was definitely calling if he fired a third barrel. If he does fire a third barrel and he's not bluffing, I think he's likely to show up with a lot of 2-pair type hands. I'm actually going to just quit this table since we're ending the session soon anyway. I'm not going to start a new opponent. I'm just going to fold to a big turn lead. I have nothing. Here, yeah, I'm not even going to bother bluffing. This is a board that I can one and done against a lot of people, but against this, like, kind of fishy weirdo, I just don't... I mean, I'm only going to fire this if he checks, like, 3 times. There. Okay, now I can bluff at it. But he might... Yeah, he just stations me anyway with jack high and with chop. So maybe bluffing rivers after flop and turn and both check through is not a great idea against this guy. So we got called down by jack high there. Again, still opening every button until he 3-bets me enough to make me stop. And he's still not 3-betting very much, so obviously that's a fold when he does 3-bet, but he's just not doing it enough to make me not steal with every single button hand, so whatever. This is not a standard defend against 3x. I would flat it generally against min raise, but not against 3x. usually off, I would flat against his 3x, but it looks like, I feel like he's still opening, like, fairly wide. Like, I think he's still opening over 70%, so I'm not really too worried about tightening up that much out of position at this point. I think I don't worry too much about that until people get under 70%, or, like, maybe under 75%. I start thinking about tightening up a little bit, but I played basically the same out of position against anywhere from a 75% to 100% opening range, I think. I don't think that's really too unreasonable either. Pre-flop top pair and a terrible flush draw. I'm just going to check it back and turn the terrible flush. I'm just checking it back again, and I'm going to value bet the river, because he'll probably call me pretty light, as he just demonstrated a moment ago. Now, if he check raises, I don't have a clue what he has, and I will probably fold. Here we just fold to 3-bet. He's a little bit short, and that's a bad hand to continue against 3-bet with. This is kind of one of the worst hands. I flat. We flop 2 pair, that's good. I don't really like check raising here because I don't think getting it in gets it in against a very good range. Like if you get 3-bet, you're just kind of fucked. I do have to check call a second barrel even though the third heart came up, and I may check call a third barrel depending on what he does. 750. I feel like he can have better thin value hands here. I don't think he's that polarized, so I think it's actually a fold. And of course he could also just have the nuts, so I think the combined probability that he could have like better hands than mine for thin value plus the nuts makes it a fold. It's not, I mean, it's kind of close. It's not like a super obvious fold, but I think it is a fold against this guy. I'm not going to take any stabs here with nothing. I'm just folding if he bets, obviously. I think maybe he's trying to decide whether to value bet a king or a 5, something like that. Just check it down here. Now we had 10 high. He was actually deciding whether to bluff with 10 high there, but he decided against it. Standard folds here. You get 3-bet, just make a very standard fold with garbage. I was probably going to 3-bet those pocket threes. I think it's good to 3-bet that type of hand when your 3-betting image is fairly strong and you're going to get a lot of fairly early folds. Here we just fold the 3-bet again with garbage again. Although if he keeps 3-betting like that, then I'll consider tightening my button. That is worth noting here. Yeah, here I'm going to 3-bet 6s for the aforementioned reasons. flop nothing. I think the best line to get him to bluff here is to half pot flop and then like check call, check call. Ace turn, we check it. There's so many draws he can have here. Hope that he doesn't have the jack. I just don't believe him that much here. Yeah, he had a bunch of gutter. He was just hoping I was on a pure air one and done. And that's exactly what I wanted him to think, because it got him to bluff into me. Not for 2 barrels, but definitely for 1, so that was solid. I'm just folding the 3-bet here. It's not a strong enough hand to continue, especially against someone that, well, he's starting to 3-bet aggressively now, actually. Historically, he hasn't 3-bet that much, but now he's probably getting tilted and starting to 3-bet too much. So I may want to drop the bottom 10 or 15% of my opening range. I probably will if I get those hands within, relatively soon. If he 3-bets again here, yeah, I mean, okay, I'm still folding queen 2 off, but now I'm going to tighten my button open. And actually, I think it's probably good to start min-raising here as well. Given he's a bit shorter, the geometry of the stacks will probably be a little better. We can kind of keep less of the money from going in pre-flop, leaving more of it to play post-flop, which is where most of our edge is going to be. So I'm going to start min-raising, and I'm going to be doing it with a bit of a tighter, a slightly tighter range than I normally raise. We're obviously not defending junk like this. Actually, I should have folded that. I did that out of habit, and I don't think he's going to believe a 4-bet bluff. So that should have been an open fold. That was a clear mistake, I think, actually, opening that hand, given how much he's been 3-betting. We'll 3-bet very merged, though, against this guy, because he's probably just continuing way too much. Again, I'm going to try the half pot and then trap check turn line. And get raised on the flop. I don't know why I call. Turn sucks. That's a terrible turn. He had aces. Wow. Okay, he flatted 3-bet and raised flop with aces. That's interesting. I like that. That's a good line. So now I'm going to fold junk because I think he's still 3-betting too much. Flatting this. This is a pretty standard flat, like always, I think. He can't have hit this board much. I'm going to try check raising here since I haven't check raised at all. There we go. I think that's a well-timed check raise given the fact that I haven't check raised him at all yet. Like, I think that's a paired board like that is a good time to start doing it, because he doesn't hit that board very much just by virtue of the fact that no one hits that board very much. But once I go to the trouble of check raising, it's plausible I could have, like, I'm polarizing my range a ton, and it's plausible I could have, like, ace-4 suited, king-4 suited, 5-4 suited, 6-4 suited, stuff like that. So it's not totally absurd for me to have a 4 there, and I haven't check raised him at all, so that range has to look strong enough for him to want to exploitative fold if he's, like, a reasonably competent player. And I don't think he's that bad, even though I think he's like a little stationy, a little too stationy in general. Like in spots where I'm kind of exploitatively not bluffing enough, he's still calling down too much. Reflop nothing. I'm just gonna check fold this. It doesn't go anywhere. I mean, I know he's bluffing a lot here, but I don't have enough equity to check raise because I think he's going to continue against the check raise fairly often, especially given that I just did it a second ago. I don't even feel comfortable leading this turn with nothing here. Nah, we probably both have the board. Yeah. So I don't defend 5-4 off against 3x in general. It's too... AK, that's good. He's gonna flat. I thought he was gonna 3-bet. That's too bad. I think he might donk out here a lot. Like, this looks like a board he would probably want to donk on. I do have 2 overs and backdoor second, not diamonds, but I'm not going to c-bet this because it just hits him too well. Thankfully, he's checking. River, random 5, or, I mean, he probably doesn't have diamonds, but he could easily have random 5. Yeah, he uses a random pair also, a lot of the time, but I don't really feel like there's much reason to be bluffing into that after I've represented nothing the whole time. I don't know, you can argue over that, but I don't know. I'm just going to flat ace-9 off. It's kind of my standard. Generally 3-bet ace-10 and up, heads up, but ace-9 off, I feel like is not that great a value 3-bet unless it's against min-raise, then it's okay, but it's not good against 3x, I don't think. Just check down here and hope he doesn't have anything. Yeah. Okay. That's not a standard defend. Some people defend that against min-raise. Some people defend it even against 3x. I think both are bad. I think it's just a fold out of position. Sometimes I still do it against min-raise, but I probably shouldn't, and it's something I've been kind of trying to eliminate from my game. I just think king x offsuit, worse than like king 8 off, is usually just terrible out of position. I'm just going to flat this. It's a kind of mediocre drawing hand. Flop nothing. I think I can check raise again here because he c-bets so much, and he believed me last time I check raised a low paired board like this. So like I can have a 3. He's gonna float this time. I pick up a gutter on the turn, but I'm not gonna barrel. I don't think I have enough equity to barrel. 10 river doesn't do anything. Yeah, I'm gonna lose this pot for sure. Just check fold now. He has something for sure. He wouldn't bother value betting the river, so he wasn't just on some weak bluff catcher, like he had something there. But I still like my check raise. I think it's fine on that board. It's just unfortunate that we ran into a hand. I get 3-bet and fold. I feel like if I am going to ever 4-bet him, it's probably going to be with a strong hand, because I think that he probably expects me to be trying to play back with some 4-bets some of the time. Because he's, you know, like he's a somewhat thinking player. He's not terrible. So I expect him to expect me to be looking for 4-bet bluffing spots. So like, especially when I make my first 4-bet, I expect him to think it's bluffy, like pretty often. So I'm going to be kind of waiting for strong hands to 4-bet. He's 3-betting so much, though, I will flat some hands like this in position, and then probably raise flop. Actually, I'm just going to pot flop, and I think I take it down here a lot when I do this. Yeah. I turned my hand into a bluff there, just because I thought that that particular sizing at that moment would look extremely strong, and just take it down a huge amount of the time, versus his 3-bet and check flop range. So that's sort of an exploitative sizing thing. Against a lot of people, I just half pot there as a standard because they fold too much, but I don't really know of a tendency in his game to be folding too much in too many spots at all. So I felt like I needed a bigger bet to get the amount of fold equity I wanted there, which was like a lot because I had just bottom pair. But I think it was worth turning into a bluff there. He's going to 3-bet again. I'm going to flat wide again because I just don't buy it. He's 3-betting so much. He checks it. I'll check back and try to get to showdown. Turn is good for me. That doesn't do a whole lot. Now, what I am a little bit worried about here is like overpairs that are better than my 6, but not as high as ace, obviously. That he's just going to be pot controlling. But he's been 3-betting so much that I just feel like he can't have a whole lot. So I'm just protection betting the turn here after he 3-bets and checks twice. And he's just going to fold. Yeah, he's just going to have nothing so often. We're going to value 3-bet King Jack. And he just folds. That's totally fine. I haven't seen him 4-bet at all, so I'm probably going to give him credit most likely if he 4-bets, unless it's like right after a really quick succession of me 3-betting several times or something. This should have been an open fold, actually, given how much he's 3-betting. I just keep defaulting back. That's lucky that I took it down. I just keep defaulting back to opening every button because it's so good against most players. But I really ought to be folding the bottom 10 to 15% here. This is a like standard value 3-bet for me, heads up, or protection / value, whatever. It's kind of both. That's not a good flop. I don't like bluffing on this flop because there's so many draws and pairs and all sorts of things he can have hit. And I don't really have any draw, so I'm just going to check fold. That's the kind of like mid to high heavy coordinated board that, you know, you don't really want to be dicking around on. So I flop a gutter. I'll go ahead and take one stab at it for pot. Get called. Need a 4. That doesn't help. I'm just giving up now. Unless I hit a 4. Nope. Giving up. Ace high. He had a 3, but his ace high is good anyway. I think I would have probably had to fire 3 barrels to get him to give up there, because the second king on the turn makes it combinatorically less likely for me to have a king, which is probably going to make it a reverse scare card. So I think he's really unlikely to fold turn if I barrel, and I probably would have to barrel river as well to get him to fold. And I don't like the 3-barrel bluff on that board at all. I think it's terrible. Make a standard open with Queen Jack here, and expecting to get 3-bet by a really wide range, which we will snap call. No, he folds this time. So maybe he's backing off his 3-betting a little. I don't know. I still would tend to assume he's on a pretty light 3-betting range right now. He's not doing it like 100%, but he is folding some buttons, so that's a sign that he could be backing off. He folded at least one button. And he also didn't 3-bet his last opportunity, so I'm suspecting he could be backing off just a little bit now. But I'm still flatting this against the 3-bet. Like, it has enough drawing equity. And he's been 3-betting enough that I still don't really give him a ton of credit for a 3-bet right now. But he is backing off a little. Gonna make a standard 3-bet here for value. He's gonna flat. I don't like this flop very much, but I feel like I can still c-bet half pot and take it down some of the time. Get called. We pick up the second nut flush draw on the turn. I think that's worth, actually I'm gonna check raise all in here. I think he'll have so many weak hands on the turn after floating flop there. If he already has the made flush, that's unfortunate, but what can you do? It's awesome if he has to fold here. Yeah, very nice, very nice. I was not rivering anything, so glad I had a lot of fold equity there like I thought. Turn bottom pair. I feel like his flatting range hits this board really well, so I'm not even calling if he leads turn. I'm just folding. It's not worth a protection bet on the turn either because I think his calling range just beats us too often. But we can check down and win a showdown sometimes, so that's probably best case scenario for that hand. It's not worth a value bet on that board. I'm going to flat queen 8, which is like the worst offsuit queen that I'll flat out of position, heads up generally. I'm just going to let him have the, like, I could maybe think about check raise bluffing if he wasn't so short, but there's just no room to do it given how short his stack is now, so I'm just check folding. He's going to 3-bet again. I'm going to fold 8-4 suited. Like, that's just, I think, too weak at this short stack depth. I might need to go back to min raising again. Now that he's shorter, like if he keeps 3-betting aggressively, I will probably start min raising again. Just because he's kind of short now. So I want to get only a smaller percentage of stacks in pre-flop more often. So min raise here. Kind of see what he does. He's still 3-bets pretty big, so I fold. This hand I can't continue against 3-bet anyway, unless it's like a min 3-bet. Pocket threes. I feel like I just flat at the stack depth. Flop sets like a boss. Unfortunately, he checks back flop. Turn is bad. It's going to kill our action, and he's likely, unless he had an ace himself, he's not too likely to pay off now, I don't think. Call, and unfortunately we hit 4 flush river, which is terrible. Check it down and still win, thankfully, but we missed the value bet on the river because of the 4 flush. Or rather, we couldn't value bet anymore on the river because of the 4 flush card game. I'm going to 3x this because it's a good hand, and I kind of wanted to get 3-bet there, but I just c-bet pot here, and I'm probably going to get called by a lot of worse hands. Lots of draws and 8x and 5x. Get check raised for some reason. I think he's on a draw a ton. I call. And that looks like a good barreling card, so I just call down here. Yep, he's on open-ended straight flush draw, but he didn't get there. He's going to quit. So I think that's a good time to wrap up the video. That was a good session. A lot of things went really well for me, so that was cool. Thanks for watching. This is Gage Brown signing off.